everyone. Welcome back to Speak Easy English. I'm Emily, and with me is my amazing co-host, Tommy.
Hi, everyone. We're diving deeper today into a very serious and important topic: the conflict between Iran and Israel.
That's right. Last time we touched upon it, but it's such a complex issue that it needs more time. Our goal today is to help you understand the history, the main players, and why this conflict is so important globally, all in simple English.
And, as always, we are here to provide facts and explanations, not to take sides. Our aim is to help you understand, not to influence your opinions.
Let's start from the very beginning, or at least the beginning of this modern conflict. It really changed in 1979 with the Iranian Revolution.
Exactly. Before 1979, Iran and Israel actually had a friendly relationship. They traded with each other, and they had diplomatic ties, meaning their governments talked to each other. Israel even had an embassy in Tehran, the capital of Iran.
But the revolution completely changed Iran. The new government was led by Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, and he had a very strong anti-Israel stance. This means he was against Israel's existence.
Yes, he saw Israel as an extension of Western influence in the Middle East, especially from the US. So, after 1979, Iran cut all ties with Israel. They closed the Israeli embassy and replaced it with a Palestinian diplomatic mission. This was a very clear signal of their new policy.
Let's talk a bit more about Iran's view. After the revolution, Iran wanted to be a leader in the Islamic world.
Their government has a strong ideology, which includes supporting Palestinian rights and being against what they call imperialism, meaning powerful Western countries controlling other nations. For them, Israel is often seen as a symbol of that Western influence in the region.
They also believe in supporting what they call the Axis of Resistance. This is a group of countries and organizations in the Middle East that are against Israel and US influence.
This strategy means Iran doesn't always fight directly. Instead, they support other groups to do the fighting. This is called proxy warfare.
On the other side, we have Israel. For Israel, security is the most important thing.
Absolutely. Israel is a small country in a very complex region. They face threats from different directions. For Israel, Iran's anti-Israel statements and its support for groups like Hezbollah and Hamas are direct threats to their safety.
Israel also sees Iran's nuclear program as a huge danger. They fear Iran could develop nuclear weapons, which they see as an existential threat.
Right. Instead of a direct war between the two countries' armies, Iran supports different groups in other countries. Think of it like a chess game where Iran moves other pieces on the board.
The most famous examples are Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza.
Iran provides these groups with money, weapons, and training. Hezbollah, for example, is a very powerful political and military group in Lebanon. They have fought several wars with Israel, like the one in 2006 that Emily mentioned earlier. That war really showed how strong Hezbollah had become with Iran's help.
And Hamas controls Gaza. They have also fought many times with Israel. So when there's conflict in Gaza or Lebanon, it often has Iran's fingerprints on it.
But it's not just about these groups. After the war in Syria started in 2011, Iran also sent military advisors and supported local militias there. Israel began targeting Iranian military positions in Syria because they didn't want Iran to establish a permanent military presence so close to their border.
So Israel is often striking targets in Syria that it says are connected to Iran or Hezbollah. This is their way of trying to stop Iran from building up its power in the region.
Let's spend more time on Iran's nuclear program because this is perhaps the biggest single worry for Israel and the US.
Iran has developed a very advanced nuclear program. They say it's only for peaceful purposes like making electricity for homes or medical treatments.
However, Israel and many Western countries, especially the US, fear that Iran is secretly trying to build nuclear weapons. If Iran had a nuclear bomb, it would drastically change the power balance in the Middle East.
This fear led to the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, officially called the JCPOA, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. In this deal, Iran agreed to limit its nuclear activities, like how much uranium it could enrich, in exchange for other countries lifting their economic sanctions.
It was seen as a way to stop Iran from getting a nuclear bomb. But in 2018, the US withdrew from the deal under President Trump. This made things much worse.
Yes, after the US left, Iran started to reduce its compliance with the deal. This means they started enriching uranium to higher levels and installing more advanced machines, which increased international concern. For Israel, this was a huge red flag.
Because of this, Israel has taken covert actions to disrupt Iran's program. This includes things like the Stuxnet cyber attack in 2010, which damaged Iran's nuclear centrifuges, and also assassinations of Iranian nuclear scientists. These are very serious actions.
This conflict isn't just a two-player game. Many other countries and international organizations are deeply involved or affected.
Absolutely. Let's look at some of the key global players, the United States. As we know, the US is Israel's strongest ally. They provide billions of dollars in military aid and strong diplomatic support. The US views Iran as a significant threat to regional stability and its own interests. They also try to prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons. Russia. Russia has a complex role. They often support Iran politically and militarily, especially in Syria. They see Iran as a partner in increasing their own influence in the Middle East and challenging US power. China. China has very strong economic ties with Iran, especially in trade and energy. They often oppose US sanctions against Iran and prefer to keep their economic relationship stable. China also wants stability in the Middle East for energy supplies. The European Union, EU. The EU often tries to be a mediator. They supported the 2015 nuclear deal and want to bring all sides back to negotiations. They are worried about the conflict spreading and the humanitarian impact. Regional allies and rivals. Beyond the main players, there are also important relationships in the region. For example, Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states often quietly cooperate with Israel because they share a strong opposition to Iran's influence. On the other hand, Iran strongly supports its axis of resistance, which includes not just Hezbollah and Hamas, but also groups like the Houthi rebels in Yemen.
So it's like a giant spider web of connections, where a problem in one part can quickly affect many others.
It's easy to talk about geopolitics and strategies, but we must always remember that real people suffer because of this conflict.
Exactly. The fighting, the tension, the sanctions, it all has devastating impacts on civilians, not just in Israel and Iran, but also in places like Gaza, Lebanon, and Syria.
We see deaths and injuries, of course, but also massive displacement, people being forced to leave their homes and become refugees. Entire cities and infrastructures are destroyed.
Economic problems are huge, too. Blockades and sanctions make it very hard for people to get basic necessities, leading to more poverty and hardship. Imagine not being able to get medicine or enough food.
And the psychological toll is immense. Living in constant fear, experiencing conflict, seeing violence, it leads to trauma and long-term mental health issues for many people, especially children. It's a hidden scar of war.
So, how has this conflict looked recently?
Tensions have been very high. We've seen cycles of rocket attacks, airstrikes, and covert operations. For example, there have been increasing attacks from Iranian-backed groups on U.S. forces in the region, and Israel continues its strikes in Syria.
One of the most worrying things is the lack of direct communication between Iran and Israel. They don't talk to each other directly, which makes it very hard to calm things down when something happens. Misunderstandings can easily lead to bigger problems.
So, what are the possible future scenarios? A wider regional war. This is the biggest fear. If either side takes a very big action, or if one of Iran's proxy groups escalates too much, it could pull in many more countries and become a devastating regional conflict. This would be catastrophic for the world economy, especially oil. A prolonged stalemate. This means the current situation continues. Ongoing tensions, small skirmishes and proxy fights, but no full-scale war. It's a constant state of high alert. Gradual steps towards peace. This is what everyone hopes for. It would involve more diplomacy, possibly new agreements about Iran's nuclear program, economic cooperation, and even people-to-people exchanges to build understanding. However, this seems very difficult right now.
That's a lot of information, Tommy, but so important for our listeners to understand.
Absolutely, Emily. It's not an easy topic, but understanding the complexities is the first step towards wanting peace.
We'd love to hear what you think. What part of this conflict do you find most confusing? Or what more would you like to know? Send us your questions or thoughts.
You can reach us on our social media or email. We always love to hear from you.
For now, thank you for tuning in to Speak Easy English. We hope this deep dive into the Iran-Israel conflict has helped you feel more informed.
Stay safe, and we'll talk to you next time.